If you have a set of hooks that you can hook into the thigh area or the backbone area and hang it, that makes this step a lot easier. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to show how to do it if you don't have that. Once you get to where you're working down the backbone, you can actually kind of set it up so it's sitting on the head, so to speak, sitting on the neck, and just gently hold it in place and slowly work down. The back skin is going to stick really tight to the backbone, so just be very careful. You're actually doing more pulling than you are cutting. When you're cutting, you're just barely touching that knife to the skin, just enough to break that connective tissue. The skin's actually coming off more from the force of my fingers pulling on the skin than it is from the knife actually cutting it. So here's where the tail would be. This is the breast down here and the backbone. You want to go ahead and continue skinning all the way down towards the wing. And once you get to the wing, just gently skin around the joint where the wing meets the breast. Once you've made it far enough forward on the wing area and you've started to go around the wings, you'll notice that that opens up some more freedom to work on the front. So now we're back to the front. This is the breast, the head and the beard's down here. And you want to just be real careful going through this area because this is what's coming up on the crop down here. And it's a really gelatinous area, very messy area. And you just want to try and keep as much of that. Hey, bug. Sometimes you get bugs too. Ah! Die. Die. Stupid thing. Anyways, ignore that part. Don't show your wife or girlfriend that part when you're cooking it for them. So just go ahead and take your time. You want to leave as much of that gelatinous mass on the actual body, on the meat as possible as you're removing the skin, because it's really easy to get that off of the meat afterwards and it's hard to get it off of the skin. So just try and leave as much of that on the meat as possible when you're going through this area. Okay, so we've got the head and neck starting up here. This is the breast going back towards the tail. And this is the wing bone here. I've skinned it all the way around the wing bone as close as I can get so it exposes the wing bone itself right there. I'm just going to feel around the bone here and I'm going to try and find the spot where that bone meets the breast meat, and I'm going to cut, try and leave as much of that breast meat on the carcass as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and separate this wing right in that area, paying attention to where the breast actually runs to save as much of that breast meat as possible. Now you'll see I've reached the joint here. This is where the wing meets the body. Saved as much of the breast meat as possible. I'm just going to cut right through that area. Just like we did the legs, I'm going to find that cartilage in the joint and cut right through that. Just be careful not to cut the skin on the other side. Now we'll go ahead and repeat the process on the next wing. You want to keep some paper towels handy because as you start to cut into the joints and the crop area, you'll start to get a little bit of blood that comes out, and you want to try and keep that off the feathers and off the meat as much as possible, just to make it an easier, cleaner job. So keep some paper towels handy and just tuck those into any areas that start to have some blood come out. So now here's the other wing, and again we're going to find that spot where that joint is. Find the breast meat. We're going to leave as much of that breast meat on the carcass as possible and just trim real close to that. You'll notice there's some big arteries right in the area where the wings meet the body. Keep some paper towels handy so you can get some of that up there. You want to try and avoid having any blood on the feathers if possible, which is really hard to do, but the more blood on there, the harder it is to clean it up. Just gently cut through there until you can remove this wing. Okay, now that we've cut through both wings, the only thing that's holding this skin to the actual carcass is what's left of the crop, and then the neck and the head. So what we're going to do is go ahead and pull the wings and the feet and everything back this direction to keep them out of the way, keep them safe and clean. And then we're just going to go ahead and cut through, carefully leaving as much of that crop on the carcass as possible for right now until we get down to the neck, and we'll just cut it right through at the neck and the skin will be separated. And this is arguably the worst part of the job. This is that crop area. Again, like I said, it's very gelatinous, very bloody, fatty, just not a very nice part of the bird to work with. But anyways, when you go through that, your skin's up here. Try and keep as much of that crop on the carcass for right now as possible. And you just have to carefully go through and try and feel where the feather quills are so you can verify that you're actually cutting through next to the skin and not cutting through the skin itself. Now that you worked past the crop, go ahead and skin it on down the neck for a little ways. Just a couple inches is fine. So the reason that we leave the crop on during the skinning process is because once you get done, you can actually come in here and find where this tissue starts. Just use your knife, gently start freeing it from the breast. Once you get it a little bit further, you'll see that you can actually just pull it and the whole crop will remove in one piece. That right there is actually what makes the turkey go and strut. It fills up with air, pushes the feathers out, and then when he comes out of strut, it comes back down. Go ahead and cut the trachea as far back in as you can, and the esophagus. Now we've freed up one side of the crop. We're going to spin it around and repeat the same thing on this side here until we can start pulling and it'll pull free. So you remove the crop all in one piece. It's a lot easier than trying to pick it off piece by piece off of the skin. Okay, so at this point then, we're going to go ahead and go back to the vent area. You'll see where the breast comes down to a point, and then right in this area here is where you want to start your cut. Just kind of stay high so you're not hitting any of the organs. Repeat the process, staying underneath the breast meat. All you're going to do is just open it up far enough that you can get your hands in there. This extra tissue, you want to just gently cut through that. On both sides. And then go ahead and bring it right around down below where the vent is, where we were cutting earlier. And make sure that that part is included with what you're about to remove here. Okay, once you've made those cuts, now you can go in here as far back in as you can, get the whole pile and just bring it forward, get rid of all of it all in one pull. So after you've got it cleaned up good enough and rinsed off, you can go ahead and freeze that, or what I'm going to do on this particular bird is take it to our local meat processor. They smoke a lot of meats and I like to take geese and turkeys there to get smoked, so that's where this guy's going to end up. At this point, the body's been removed. What you want to do is go ahead and real carefully take these legs and tuck them back inside where they were beforehand. Make sure you're not twisting these feathers or the skin too bad. Just try and keep them real nice so everything's going the same way that it was when it was still alive. If you wanted to at this point, you could actually go ahead and remove the meat from the drumsticks. I definitely recommend leaving the leg bone inside here. If you're going to take this meat, just go ahead and trim it off. You want to leave that leg bone intact because we'll use that to measure the height of the bird, and that's used again in the mounting process. Just go ahead and gently tuck it back together. Try and keep everything laying in somewhat the same direction. You can get the wings roughly back in place. And then you can actually take the head and tuck it inside the wing just like that. You want to do everything real gentle. To store your turkey, all you have to do is just store it in a plastic bag in the freezer. I wouldn't leave it in there for too long. Try and get it to a taxidermist as soon as possible so you can avoid freezer burn. Of course, make sure you get your tail and store that with it too. As you can see, storing it this way actually saves you quite a bit on freezer space too. So if you're still going to be in camp for a few more days while some other friends are hunting, and you've got your bird down and skinned out, but you don't have access to a freezer, the best thing you can do is wrap it up in the plastic and keep it on top of the ice in the cooler. You want to make sure that you're not keeping it down in the ice where it's going to melt and possibly get in and get wet, because the moisture is what's going to actually aid in the bacteria growth. So just keep it in the cooler, keep a bunch of ice next to it and underneath it, and just keep it dry and as cold as possible for as long as possible. So hopefully these tips help if you get into a situation where you have to skin out a turkey and your taxidermist isn't there to do it. This will allow you to save that meat and also be able to get your mount for the long run. So if you have any questions or anything, just leave them in the line below. As always, keep subscribing and we'll keep more videos coming for you.